disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Dzień dobry. This is Joanne Yanitsky, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the April 16th, 2026 issue of the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. I'm going to jump right in. Some great color photographs on the front page. Some photos are by Peter Sloan. There's a photograph of Father Jacek Mazer at the All Polonia Mass. He presided at the 10:15 morning All Polonia Mass at St. Stanislaus Church in Buffalo on April 12th. The Polish-American Congress invited Polonian organizations to celebrate together on Divine Mercy Sunday and near the feast of St. Stanislaus Bishop and Martyr. Michael Zachowicz led members of the Chopin Singing Society in Easter hymns for the Mass, and a reception followed in the St. Stanislaus Social Hall featuring breakfast foods and tasty desserts. Then there are two group photos of Polish Saturday School students and teachers, and they're posing with Pablo Sanz-Viegas, a classical guitarist, and Anna Sulkowska-Migon, the conductor, who is featured at the left. And I'm going to start with that story. Saturday School Choir performs at Kleinhans Mary Seton Room. The Monsignor Peter Adamski Polish Saturday School Choir was the featured performer at Saturday's Community Spotlight, a pre-concert performance sponsored by the Samasi Law Firm and hosted by the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra on April 11th, 2026, in the Mary Seton Room, prior to the orchestra's concert, Pablo's Guitar. The children and teachers of the choir presented traditional and contemporary music with commentary and explanation by the school's principal, Mira Schrammel. Among the songs presented, Plinia Wisla started the program off, followed by a mixture of folk and children's songs, as well as the tongue twister Schlipschill, and ending with Bo Shichipalase, which tells the audience that Polish people are all one big family. The performance garnered a very positive response as the performers made their way to the complimentary seats for the orchestra's performance. It was especially appropriate for the Polish Saturday School to perform before this concert, as the conductor of the orchestra's program was the young up-and-coming Polish artist Anna Sulkowska-Migon, who presented music from Poland, Spain, France, and Russia. Sponsors for the concert were the permanent chair of Polish culture at Canisius University, the Kościuszko Foundation, Mark Peszko and David Schopp. At the concert start, Sulkowska-Migon spoke about the composer of the first piece presented, Grażyna Baciewicz's Overture for Orchestra, written during World War II, encouraging the audience to learn more about the work of this 20th century Polish artist. The featured soloist for the concert was Pablo Sanz-Viegas, classical guitarist. He lived up to his reputation as the successor to Andrei Segovia with his performance of Joaquin Rodrigo's Concerto de Aranjuez, garnering a standing ovation from the audience. His performance was mesmerizing. His encore piece from his homeland was nothing short of magical. The Polish Saturday School members had the chance to meet with the artist during the intermission, where he spoke of the shared cultural values of Poland and Spain and gave an inspiring message to the children of the choir to dare to dream and to work hard each day to attain those dreams. After the concert, members of the Polish Saturday School, had the opportunity to meet with the conductor, Sulkowska-Migon, who enjoyed the opportunity to speak in Polish. Born in Kraków, she won first prize at the La Maestra conducting competition in Paris in March 2022, and the Nîmes Harvey Prize at the Gstaad Conducting Academy. She has performed widely in Europe and North America and is a champion of Polish composers. Former Transfiguration Church now up for sale. Looking like a hollowed-out ruin, the former Transfiguration Church, 29 Sycamore Street in Buffalo, New York, now sports a for sale sign. The Eastside Parish celebrated its centennial on the Feast of the Transfiguration on August 6, 1993, before closing as part of a Diocese of Buffalo proposal. That proposal read, consolidation model, would reduce the number of parishes so as to strengthen the remaining parishes. This proposal would close Transfiguration, Queen of the Most Holy Rosary, St. Luke, and St. Joachim parishes. Remaining open would be St. Stanislaus, Corpus Christi, St. Adalbert, and St. John Canty. Recchio Real Estate is listing the church for $135,000, describing it as the former Transfiguration Church, a striking late 19th century Gothic revival structure, offers investors a rare high-risk, high-reward redevelopment opportunity. While the building has suffered significant deterioration, including roof collapse and structural damage, architectural and engineering stamp plans are already in place to transform the site into a residential development concept featuring approximately 14 apartments while preserving the historic exterior shell. Quote, the redevelopment narrative calls for an estimated $6.3 million project budget with projected monthly gross rents of $2,800 per unit and annualized income in excess of $700,000, providing the potential for strong long-term returns once stabilized. Rising assessed valuations, favorable preservation economics, and the potential eligibility for historic tax credits strengthen where are we going here? Well, it just kind of cuts off. Let's jump to Polish news bites. Concerns rise over air quality programs slowdown. The Clean Air Initiative, launched in 2018, has helped households in Poland replace coal-based heating systems and improve insulation, significantly reducing smog levels. However, recent reforms aimed at preventing fraud and misuse of funds have led to a sharp decline in participation. After reaching a peak of over 250,000 applications in 2024, the program has slowed considerably. Activists argue that this drop risks reversing gains in public health and environmental protection, especially as Poland remains heavily dependent on coal for residential heating. Experts warn that approximately 2.5 million coal-fired heating systems are still in use, posing ongoing risks to air quality. Frog Patrol gains attention for conservation efforts. A citizen-led conservation initiative in Poland has gained international attention. Known as the Frog Patrol, volunteers near Młoczowski Forest, 19 miles west of Warsaw, have been helping amphibians safely cross roads during their spring migration season. Each year, thousands of frogs and toads attempt to reach breeding grounds, but face high mortality due to traffic. Equipped with reflective vests, flashlights, and buckets, volunteers operate on rainy nights to transport the animals across dangerous roads. Since its founding 3 years ago, the group has reportedly saved around 18,000 amphibians. Biologists have praised the initiative as an effective example of community-driven conservation, noting its positive impact on local ecosystems. Similar efforts exist in other countries, but Poland's Frog Patrol has become a particularly visible symbol of grassroots environmental action. Holocaust Remembrance marked by annual March of the Living. Thousands gathered in southern Poland on April 14th for the annual March of the Living, a solemn event commemorating Holocaust victims. Participants walked from Auschwitz to Birkenau, honoring the 6 million Jews murdered during World War II. Around 50 Holocaust survivors joined this year's march, some traveling from Israel, despite logistical challenges linked to ongoing geopolitical tensions. Organizers highlighted a troubling resurgence in global anti-Semitism, noting a sharp rise in incidents since late 2023. The event also included participants affected by recent anti-Semitic violence, underscoring the continued relevance of its message. We're going to go to an editorial, A Time for Unity. Then join hand in hand, brave Americans all. By uniting we stand, by dividing we fall. In so righteous a cause let us hope to succeed, for heaven approves of each generous deed. That verse is a portion of a pre-American Revolutionary War song with lyrics by founding father John Dickinson, published in 1768. It is considered by some to be the genesis of this often used motto, united we stand, divided we fall. Over 250 years later, we reference that phrase because we believe unity is needed in the Polish-American community today. Shortly after the Cheektowaga Town Board came to an agreement with the Polish-American Congress, Western New York Division, to host the annual Cheektowaga Polish-American Arts Festival in Cheektowaga Town Park on July 24th, 25th, and 26th, the General Pulaski Association promoted on its website Cheekfest on July 17th, 18th, and 19th in Cheektowaga Town Park. Under the Polish-American Congress, the Cheektowaga Festival has grown and improved with its offerings of Polish food, beverage, music, crafts, dance groups, exhibits, lectures, and demonstrations. The Pulaski Association is supposedly going to offer a Polish happy hour and party band on Friday, to be announced activities on Saturday, and a return of the Pulaski Parade on Sunday, along with Polish dance lessons, cultural and music stages. We contacted Cheektowaga Supervisor Brian Novak, who informed us that the Pulaski Association didn't have a permit at the time of our inquiry. Pulaski Vice President Christopher Kramer, in an email, said, quote, "The General Pulaski Association is excited to host a summer multicultural festival and parade for the community. Regarding the timing of the festival, that weekend worked best given the numerous events scheduled around the county during the months of July and August." End quote. We can't disagree more with the timing and planning by the General Pulaski Association. After one Polish-American organization has gone through the proper channels to get its permit for an event that has been successfully run for decades, to attempt a similar competing event the week prior has nothing to do with bringing together Polonia. And because the PAC event is already scheduled, the Pulaski Association should want to host an event to honor General Pulaski and showcase Polish culture. It should join with the PAC, the umbrella group for Polish Americans in Western New York. Joseph Ray should realize that, as he is a national director of the Polish American Congress. Years ago, the Cheektowaga Polish-American Arts Festival and the Pulaski Parade did coexist in Cheektowaga on the same weekend. Bringing the parade back 1 week before, in conjunction with the separate event, is not in the best interest, as Dickinson would say, of a righteous cause, with heaven's blessing. For united we stand, divided we fall. Can't we just all get along? There's a statement here. Statement of Bishop Michael W. Fisher on the remarks of Donald Trump regarding Pope Leo XIV. Quote, "The Holy Father, Pope Leo XIV, rightly invokes the gospel of Jesus Christ in calling for an end to the war with Iran and the suffering it has inflicted on so many innocent civilians, children, the elderly, and the most vulnerable, while perpetrating hatred and division that only serve to fuel generational conflict. With Pope Leo, I urge all who have the ability to bring about peace to come together and make it so. This is not about politics, but the very cause of humanity and our obligation to seek understanding, reconciliation, and pursue those mutual interests that bind us to one another, regardless of ethnic, racial, or geographic divisions." End quote. Let's take our first break. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. I'm going to jump to Polonia's calendar. Saturday, April 25th, Feast of St. Adalbert Mass at 5:30 in the evening. 212 Stanislaus Street in Buffalo, New York. Parishioners will also be recognizing the Broadway Market and its manager, Kathleen Peterson. Sunday, May 3rd, Bieszczada Banquet and Polish Constitution Day celebration. A fun roast and toast banquet honoring Andy Gołębiowski, Tewksbury Lodge Waterfront Banquet Hall at Buffalo Riverfest Park, 249 Ohio Street, Buffalo, New York. It starts at 4 p.m. There's a dinner buffet, cash bar. Polish Arts Club members are $65, non-members are $70. For information, phone number 716-876-8108, extension 133. Again, 716-876-8108, extension 133. Sunday, May 3rd, Polish Genealogy and Polonia Fair at St. Stanislaus in the Monsignor Adamski Social Center at 397 Peckham Street in Buffalo. 11 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. Free admission. At 1 p.m., Historic Polish People, Places, and Events with author and historian Rick Falkowski. Sunday, May 17th, classical music concert featuring Dominika Zamata, a Polish operatic soprano trained in Italy, and the Polish Singers Alliance of America Combined Chorus. St. Stanislaus Church, 389 Peckham Street in Buffalo, New York. It's at 1:30 in the afternoon, free will offering. Before that, Noon Mass in Polish with music by Chopin Singing Society. That's sponsored by the Polish Arts Club of Buffalo, the Permanent Chair of Polish Culture at Canisius University, and the Polish Singers Alliance of America. Sunday, May 17th, Lourdes Virtual Pilgrimage Experience. It's at St. Adalbert Basilica, 212 Stanislaus Street in Buffalo, New York. 1:30 in the afternoon. Receive the Lourdes water, touch the grotto stone. Adoration, benediction, and candle procession to the Basilica Grotto. A plenary indulgence is granted by papal decree and Vatican recognized. Sunday, June 7th, Sgraffito and Sonata, featuring talented young people with Aria Nektos and Alicia Govindari, ages 15 and 14, pianist and violinist. Roman Hermach, pianist, age 14. Charles Radomski, winner of the 2025 Polish Arts Club Scholarship, and more. Assumption Church, 435 Amherst Street in Buffalo, New York. 2:30 in the afternoon, free will offering. There's a pork chop dinner planned at Holy Mother of the Rosary Cathedral, 6298 Broadway in Lancaster, New York, on Saturday, April April 25th from 3 to 6 p.m. Dinners in the Bishop Pepflosky Center are $16 each and come with a breaded pork chop, mashed potatoes with gravy, sweet and sour cabbage, a roll, and dessert. There will also be a basket raffle featuring a variety of baskets and a 50-50 raffle. Pre-sale recommended. Tickets can be purchased or reserved from the parish office or on site at 716-685-5766, or you can email admin@holymotheroftherosary.org. No spaces. 716-685-5766, or admin@holymotheroftherosary.org. And you know you cannot beat a breaded pork chop, mashed potatoes with gravy, and sweet and sour cabbage. Hands down, one of the best ever. Pol Am radio show features Basha, jazz, and Divine Mercy. There's a photograph here above the headline, and I'm going to guess that it's a photograph of Basha, and she's lovely. The newest episode of the Polish-American radio program opens with a song by the Polish singer Basha. Born Barbara Czechalewska. I hope I got that right. Basha became popular with fans in the U.S. and the U.K. with her positive lyrics and light sound. The show features her song Springtime Laughter. Music and the background of the Divine Mercy are also elements of the episode, along with Polish jazz, classical, and other styles of music. The episode can be heard anytime at polishprogram.com. Show host Andy Gołębiowski is organizing a bus trip to Toronto to see the world-famous Mazowsze Ensemble on Wednesday, April 29th, as well as 2 tours to Poland this year. For more information about the bus trip and the tours of Poland, email andy@polishprogram.com or call 716-510-7562. 716-510-7562. Dr. Witkowski to direct free spring concert. The Cheektowaga Community Symphony Orchestra, led by its music director, Dr. Thomas Witkowski, is giving a free concert Sunday, April 26th at 3 p.m. at St. Andrew's Church, 34 Francis Avenue in Sloan, New York. The title of the concert is Spring Sun Smiles, featuring clarinetist Jonathan Johnson playing Mozart's Clarinet Concerto. The orchestra will also be performing Dvorak's Symphony No. 8 and Haydn's Overture to La Fedeltà Premiata. Got some good stuff coming up. Polish Arts Club to honor Gołębiowski. The Polish Arts Club of Buffalo will honor Andy Gołębiowski, host of the Polish-American radio program on WEBR, at its annual Bieszczada banquet on Sunday, May 3rd, 2026, at the Tewksbury Lodge and Banquet Hall in Buffalo Riverfest Park, 249 Ohio Street in Buffalo, New York. The Bieszczada banquet is a long-standing Polish arts club tradition recognizing outstanding contributions by local citizens in a roast and toast format. Guests are invited to participate by sharing personal recollections and remarks in honor of this year's recipient. A Bieszczada is a Polish feast or banquet centered on fellowship, celebration, and communal gathering. This year's event holds added significance because it falls on May 3rd, Polish Constitution Day. The holiday commemorates the adoption of the Constitution of May 3rd, 1791, regarded as the first modern codified constitution in Europe and the second in the world after the Constitution of the United States. It remains a powerful symbol of Polish sovereignty, national identity, and civic pride. The occasion is especially fitting given Gołębiowski's longstanding dedication to promoting Poland and Polonia. Through his popular radio program, he has built a loyal audience locally and internationally with a blend of traditional and contemporary music, interviews, and Polish language programming that educates and connects listeners to their heritage. Born in Buffalo to parents who were World War II survivors, Gołębiowski was shaped by a community rooted in stories of struggle, perseverance, and survival. His background in Polish Saturday School, Eastside Polish neighborhood schools, and later studies in photojournalism helped form his lifelong commitment to serving as a spokesman and advocate for Poland and the Polish-American community. Quote, "Lives are more enriched when we are aware of our roots and the culture and history that come with it," Gołębiowski said. This Week in the History of Buffalo's Polonia by Carl L. Buckeye. The following is a list of events that occurred during the week of April 16th to April 22nd. April 17th, 1895, the birthday of Dr. Stephen A. Graczyk, the first Polish-American physician to serve as president of the Erie County Medical Society. April 21st, 1966, first showing of the Pageant of Christian Poland at Villa Maria College. Approximately 1,000 children from 24 Polish elementary schools participate in this celebration. April 22nd, 1894, at St. Stanislaus Church, 6,000 mourners attend a joint funeral for 12 Polish workers killed in a disastrous fire at American Glucose Company on Scott Street. April 22nd, 1898, the Franciscan Fathers Minor Conventual established Corpus Christi Parish to serve the growing population of Poles on Buffalo's east side. April 22nd, 1912, the city of Buffalo opens the new Polish vocational school at Peckham and Townsend Streets. And finally, April 22nd, 1923, it's the birth date of Stanley M. Makowski, who would serve as mayor of Buffalo from 1973 to 1977. Unfortunately, Mayor Makowski, the late Mayor Makowski, will probably always be associated in some way with the blizzard of 77. And, well, I certainly remember the blizzard of 77. I don't remember anything about how Buffalo streets were taken care of, because they brought in the National Guard and they brought in just every piece of equipment from Army and Reserve bases around the state and neighboring states. That was a nightmare. Okay, let's take our next break. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. That's going to take us to our friend Tom Tadapachki and Polonia's press box. There is a small black and white photograph of a rather handsome young man, a young gentleman. I'm going to guess he's a soccer player, just by the shirt he's wearing. The heading reads, "Poland out of World Cup, Lewandowski's future in doubt." Perhaps that is a photograph of Robert Lewandowski. I would not recognize him. I don't keep track of soccer. He is a very good-looking man. and I probably should say young man because I'm old. Let's see what Tom has to say, because I just enjoy his columns and features. As you know, he's a good writer, and he finds very interesting things to write about. Let's see what he has to say here. Poland's quest for a third consecutive World Cup appearance ended with a 3-2 playoff loss to Sweden. The Poles showed great resilience, tying the score twice after falling behind and maintaining a 2-2 deadlock for much of the second half. However, a late rebound goal by the Swedes ended Poland's hope to reach the 2026 tournament. That means that the great Polish striker, Robert Lewandowski, now age 37, did not qualify for what would likely have been his final World Cup. Speaking to TVP Sport after the match, Lewandowski refused to comment on the rumors, admitting only that he had, quote, question marks, and needed time to, quote, think things through. A week earlier in Warsaw, Poland came from behind to beat Albania 2-1 with Robert Lewandowski and Piotr Zielinski netting second-half goals. That victory enabled the Poles to play Sweden, with the winner qualifying for the World Cup. After Sweden took the lead, Poland twice tied the score with goals by Nikola Zalewski and Karol Swiderski. However, Swedish star Victor Gyökeres, sorry Sweden, put his team ahead for good, 3-2, with an 88th minute winner. Despite the loss, Poland's coach Jan Urban had his contract extended following the match. Urban has only been in charge since last July after Michał Probierz resigned following the fallout from his decision to strip Lewandowski of his captaincy. Lewandowski has played a record 165 games for Poland, beginning with a goal in his debut against San Marino in 2008 when he was 20 years old. His 89 goals are nearly twice as many as any other Polish player. However, he's only qualified for the World Cup twice, with the best result of reaching the round of 16 in 2022. Poland's next scheduled games are in the Nations League in September. Lewandowski's future at club level is up in the air, too. His contract runs out at the end of the season at Barcelona, where he scored 16 goals in 37 games this season. Miszorowski on the mound for Poland. Jakub Miszorowski, the flame-throwing pitcher who created a sensation last year, was the Milwaukee Brewers' opening day starter for the 2026 season. Miz responded by fanning 11 Chicago White Sox hitters to set a new franchise record for strikeouts on opening day. The four Brewer relievers who followed him to the mound joined in, making it a total of 20 strikeouts. That tied the modern major league mark for strikeouts in any 9-inning game since at least 1900 and helped the Brewers to a 14-2 win. In his next outing, he battled Boston Red Sox ace Garrett Crochet, not sure, for 6 innings with 10 strikeouts out of his first 16 outs recorded. However, later on that cold evening, he started to lose control and walked the bases loaded before being relieved. The Brewers eventually lost 3-2. Quote, "You could tell it wasn't all there," Miszorowski said. He continued, "One of the most important things for me is staying in the legs. It's just a part of it. You've got to figure it out. You have to keep going and compensate for the legs not being there and get the ball in the zone." End quote. The 24-year-old Miszorowski was in his second Major League Baseball season. He had an all-star rookie campaign in 2025, creating a sensation with his 100-mile-per-hour fastball. During an appearance on the Foul Territory podcast with A.J. Pierzynski, he joked about being open to playing for Poland in the World Baseball Classic. Quote, "If they reached out to me, I think I'd be in, said Mizorowski. Poland has never participated in the World Baseball Classic, but if they had the Miz, they'd be a contender. Ivo is a knockout. Rising mixed martial arts star Ivo Baraniewski took just 28 seconds to knock out his opponent in the second ever bout in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. The 27-year-old Pole made quick work of American Austin Lane on the floor at the UFC Fight Night event in London. Just seconds into the bout, Baraniewski landed a devastating left hook, then followed up with a flurry of ground strikes. The referee ended the match less than a half minute in. Both of his UFC wins have some by knockout, even though his base combat sport is judo. Before going to MMA, Baraniewski was a judo champion at a young age. He won gold at the 2020 Polish Youth Championships after taking bronze at the World Juniors Championships 2 years earlier. The Warsaw native, who competes in the light heavyweight division, now has 8 pro MMA wins, all coming via knockout or submission in the first round. Roybaum. 2 years into his job as the general manager of St. Bonaventure basketball, Adrian Wojnarowski is rebuilding the team, starting with a coach. In what has been called a retirement, it was announced that veteran head coach Mark Schmidt will not return next season. Damon coach Mike McDonald, who has had great success on the D2 level, was named to replace him. At Damon, McDonald went 61-3 in the past 2 seasons, including 32-0 in conference play. Coach Mack is an '88 alumnus of St. Bonaventure and has also coached at Canisius and Medaille. The departure of Schmidt, who achieved 338 wins at St. Bonaventure, earned 3 NCAA and NIT berths and 7 20-win seasons, has raised eyebrows and generated rumors. However, as Sports Illustrated pointed out, Roy now will, quote, have the opportunity to continue molding the St. Bonaventure program into a more professionalized operation as schools adapt to the changing world of player compensation in college sports, end quote. Given the status of our wonderful Buffalo Sabres, this next article is rather timely. It's by Karl L. Buckeye and his My Travels Through Polonia series. Polish Americans developed interest in ice hockey in the 1920s. Throughout Western New York, hockey fans found good reason for excitement. The United States hockey team won the gold medal at this year's Olympic Games. For the first time since 2011, the Buffalo Sabres have earned a playoff spot. But hockey has not always been a familiar sport within Polonia. It might therefore be instructive to consider the origins of its current popularity. After 123 years of foreign occupation, Poland regained its independence at the conclusion of the First World War in 1918. Poles aim to restore a spirit of national pride. Part of this pride derived from good sportsmanship in athletic competition. Thus, Poland resolved to participate in the Winter Olympics of 1928, and in particular, for the very first time, to field a team in ice hockey. Having only limited familiarity with this game, Poland faced an initial challenge of finding experienced hockey players. The Dziennik dla Wszystkich was a daily newspaper that was published in the Polish language in Buffalo from 1907 to 1957. On the first page of its edition for July 18, 2027, this gazette printed the following invitation to athletes of Polish descent. Quote, the Consulate of the Republic of Poland in Buffalo announces that the Polish Ice Hockey Association, currently preparing for the Olympics seeks to assemble a representative national team comprising the finest Polish players both at home and abroad. Should there be any outstanding Polish players among the hockey community within this consular district, the Polish Ice Hockey Association would like to establish contact with them and potentially bring them to Poland. The association will endeavor to secure suitable employment for such players in Poland that aligns with their professional qualifications. The consulate requests that interested individuals contact the consulate as soon as possible to obtain further details. End quote. Although the response to this invitation is unknown, Poland was able to organize a team that competed in the 1928 games held at St. Moritz in Switzerland. In 1932, the Winter Olympics were held at Lake Placid, New York. At that time, the Great Depression had severely impaired the ability of many countries to participate. For this reason, it was a newsworthy event when 18 Polish athletes disembarked from the SS France in New York City on January 21st. As the fourth and final participant in their sport, the Polish hockey team transformed the event into a competitive activity rather than a mere placement for gold, silver, or bronze. The Polish players were realistic in acknowledging their limitations. On January 22nd, 1932, the New York Times reported that leaders of the Polish delegation, quote, were frank to admit that their youngsters were good, but hardly good enough to win, end quote. Instead, quote, their hopes centered not so much on victory, but rather on gaining international experience, end quote. Although it played with great enthusiasm, the Polish hockey team finished in fourth place. Sadly, Poland's early Olympic hockey teams would ultimately teach fans to keep the game in proper perspective. One of the star defensemen on both the 28 and 32 squads was Alexander Kowalski, who would later become a victim of the massacre at Katyn Forest in 1940. The game of ice hockey originated as a Canadian sport. Within the Polish community of Buffalo, an interest in this activity began to develop during the 1920s. In 1926, the Humboldt Skating and Hockey Club began the sponsorship of hockey games located near to the city's central Polish district. In its edition for January 7th, 1927, the Buffalo Evening News observed that, quote, the Humboldts are well known. In speed skating circles, they need no introduction. Last winter, they decided to try a hand at the great Canadian pastime, end quote. On December 13th, 1927, there was an announcement of the formation of a Polish hockey team for Buffalo. Prospective players were invited to contact Walter Nowak, who was working to arrange participation in the municipal hockey league that the city had recently created. In 1928, Dziennik dla Wszystkich published very little about the performance of the Polish hockey team at the Olympics in Switzerland. 4 years later, the proximity of Lake Placid may have facilitated access to information. In any event, during January and February of 1932, the newspaper presented its readers with 14 articles about the exploits of the Polish Olympic hockey team. Slowly, Polonia was developing a greater interest in this sport. In the coming weeks, residents of Western New York will direct their special attention to the playoffs of the National Hockey League. What was once a sport linked to Canada is now an activity that many in Polonia will also enjoy. There is a black and white photograph, and the caption reads, Poland at the 1928 Winter Olympics in St. Moritz, Switzerland. I'm looking at the team. Goalie at one end, coach at the right-hand end. Everybody's got their skates on. They all have matching striped jerseys, but the lack of headgear, the lack of pads, protective in any way, compared to today's players, just amazes me. These guys went out there and just, I'm sure, played their hearts out with risk to life, limb, and certainly teeth. Well, good luck to any Polish hockey fans out there, whatever they do, and good luck to our wonderful Buffalo Sabres. Let's take our last break. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. This looks like a good-sized article here. Fills the entire page. And it's by Ron Shipkovsky. There are some other photos. They are all family photos. First is the photograph of John and Mary Shipkovsky's wedding photo. Now, without looking at the article, I'm going to guess it's in the 1920s. That's just my guess. Then we have more photographs through the years with another wedding photograph. I'm going to guess 1950s. And the last photo in color is a large group, and it includes the family and extended family of John and Mary Shipkovsky. Let's see what this one's all about. One can only imagine the headline reads, A Polish-American Family Success Story. One can only imagine how difficult it was to raise a large family during the Depression and for decades afterwards. As the saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. Translated, this means it requires responsible parents, but in addition involves the extended family, friends, neighbors, teachers, and the broader community to provide a healthy, safe, nurturing environment to help children grow into mature adults. The psychologist Abraham Maslow developed a framework that provides a path for guiding the optimum development of an individual. He called it hierarchy of needs. These needs are arranged on a vertical continuum. The lowest order need, physical well-being, must be reasonably achieved before the next ordered need can be addressed, safety. The third ordered need is love and belonging. Although the family unit can play a role in addressing the needs, authentic recognition must come primarily from outside the home, amongst one's peers, from schools, the workplace, and the broader community. To be successful in this stage requires one to leave the nest and obtain feedback from the outside community that an individual's accomplishments are relevant and meaningful. Creating one's own social network, being successful in recreational pursuits such as sports, forming opinions of future careers, and feeling comfortable in the community are signs that the individual is making good progress at this stage. Having a viable community umbrella in place helped the Shipkovsky children to achieve success in this stage. For this family, their community was called Black Rock, located in Buffalo, New York. Mary and John Shipkovsky had 8 children. 7 survived into adulthood, 6 boys and 1 girl. This is the narrative how their children were raised, how they were encouraged to work together to achieve the American dream, and what effect this had on raising their own children and grandchildren. Each member of the Shipkovsky family was given the opportunity to develop independently from an early age. This was due partly because both parents worked long hours, 6 days a week. Father in a factory, mother and father in the family-owned grocery store located in front of their home. Mom was always nearby and made sure the children's basic needs were met. As the children aged, they were able to spend more time on their own outside the home to explore the local environment. It is unlikely the modern parent would allow so much freedom in how their children spent their time growing up. Stories of individual accomplishments seem commonplace in America, especially as we approach our country's 250th anniversary of its founding. In the Am-Pol Eagle, I wrote about two such individuals, my brothers Ted Shepard Shipkovsky and Chester Shepard Shepard. Ted was a World War II hero as well as a highly decorated police officer in Buffalo. Chet was an internationally recognized inventor, consulted to major corporations and universities, and also possessed highly developed skills in multiple sports. The 5 younger siblings also were successful in their individual endeavors. Leonard, the third oldest sibling, studied electricity at Seneca Vocational High School. He entered military service and was a radar expert during the Korean War. Afterward, he became an electric engineer and a key designer of the Patriot missile defense system currently deployed in Ukraine when he worked for the Raytheon Corporation. He loved playing the trumpet and was a dedicated golfer, coin and stamp collector, day trader in the stock market, and the father of 7 children. John, the 4th oldest sibling, graduated from Riverside High School and served 4 years in the Navy during the Korean War. He became an outstanding industrial arts teacher in the Buffalo school system. His other talents including being an expert in making all things from wood, playing the saxophone, dancing, especially the polka, an expert walleye fisherman, and being the life of the party, always ready with a joke or a one-liner. He is the father of 3 children. Dolores, the only surviving female sibling in the Shipkovskys' household, also attended Riverside High School. She was an important helpmate to her mother at a very early age and played a key role in taking care of her brothers, especially the 2 younger ones, Ron and Alfred. Dolores taught Ron how to dance when he was 16, and he went on to become a dance host on cruise ships. She was also an accomplished secretary and worked at the WKBW radio station with well-known celebrities like Stan Stash Yashinsky. Dolores was the mother of 4 children. Ron, this writer, the Am-Pol Eagle published a part of my life in the January 29th, 2026 issue entitled A Working Vocation, about my career as a gentle host on cruise ships. I have had a variety of other work experiences after graduating from Riverside High School, including president of a consulting firm specializing in educational evaluation, a professor at Columbia and Fordham Universities, official scorer for the New York Jets, and a credible athlete in several sports. This is your reader. We will not hold against Ron the fact that he was a scorer for the New York Jets. Continuing, Alfred, or Fred, the youngest of the siblings, also graduated from Seneca High School and worked as an electrician for his entire career. Fred began working in Buffalo for Western Electric, but relocated to Nebraska when the plant closed. He returned to Western New York when he retired from AT&T and became the go-to guy for many of the joint ventures undertaken with his brother. Fred had 3 children. In 1960, all 7 Shipkovsky children shared the expenses for a month-long trip their parents took to Poland. This was a dream of a lifetime, especially for the father, who still had many relatives in the country he had not seen for almost 50 years. Another example of all the children participating in a joint venture is the annual family picnics. Mom was the main organizer, but Dolores assumed the leading role for multiple decades. All her brothers were also involved, keeping the picnic going for the 75th consecutive year in 2025. Typically, 60 to 75 adults and children attend these picnics. A more recent shared event among the siblings are the post-Christmas parties held every 2 years at fancy restaurants in Buffalo. Hotel Henry, the Richardson Hotel, Salvatore's, and most recently at the Starlot Restaurant with 45 adult attendees. An excellent illustration of how the brothers worked together was the $5 a month they all agreed to collect so they could purchase property in the future they could all share. Although the initial interest was to buy a cottage on a lake, several brothers discovered a property while hunting in Allegheny County that became their choice for a shared family destination. Angelica. With money already in the bank after years of saving, the boys were able to buy 58 acres of land to start their venture. Each participating brother brought his unique skill set to build what became the joint family gathering place away from home. One of the brothers, Len, moved to New England and was not involved in the land purchase, although he routinely came to the property with his older son to hunt, proving distance was not a barrier to maintaining shared family experiences. All 6 brothers were serious hunters, and buying property in Angelica was an opportunity for them to work together for over 60 years. The 5 brothers who owned the property were involved in planning and building a cabin that would accommodate their families as their home away from home. Once completed, the brothers continued to work together on many shared tasks, including planting trees, building trails through the woods, creating a pond for fishing and swimming, buying more adjacent land, which increased from the original 58 acres to 138 acres, building numerous tree and ground blinds for hunting turkey and deer, and mandating an annual working weekend to improve and maintain the property. Not satisfied with just enjoying the recreational rewards of owning this shared property, the brothers became entrepreneurs in another joint venture. They paid $30 an acre for the initial 58 acres and slightly more for the additional acreage. The big surprise came when they decided to sell the lumber on their property. They formed a partnership called the Zip Brothers and were able to sell lumber on 3 different occasions, realizing a total income of over $150,000. Perhaps the best sign of success from working together is that the children of the brothers are now heavily involved in the property. Angelica is now the central family gathering place for almost year-round activities. A brand new lake has been built, which now offers multiple aquatic activities, including swimming, kayaking, fishing, paddleboarding, ice skating, etc. A modern pavilion equipped with electricity, water, and a fire pit extends the use of the property. Stargazing is one of the additional highlights, along with outdoor fire chats that last long into the night. Wow, a shared family dream. Doesn't that sound marvelous? That is, talk about a close family. I'm sure there were squabbles along the way. Every family has them. But that they've kept this going through generations is just marvelous. Well, time to wrap it up. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the April 16th, 2026 issue of the Am-Pol Eagle. We read from the Am-Pol Eagle every Saturday at 3 p.m. Your reader has been Joanne Yanitsky. Thank you for listening. Do widzenia.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the Grand Island Niagara County Tribune Sentinel. At 5 o'clock, we have the Lockport Union Southern Journal. And at 6 o'clock, we've got the Wall Street Journal Off Duty. Stay tuned for these readings and more. If you're listening to this publication online, you're probably using our website, a podcast player like Spotify or iTunes, a streaming service like Siro, or a smart speaker. Did you know that we now have a dedicated app that can be downloaded to any mobile device, like a smartphone or tablet, for free? App users can conveniently access our live stream and any episode of our podcast easier than ever. To download the app, just type NFRRS in the search window in the Apple App Store or in the Google Play Store. Contact us anytime if you have any questions by calling 716-821-5555, extension 5. Thank you. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which